I'm joined by Forbes McKenzie, Chief Executive of McKenzie Intelligence. Very good to see you, Forbes. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's start on Mariupol and particularly the steelworks. Of course, very, very hard for Western journalists to get close to it, to really know exactly what's going on. But what are the gathering of intelligence that you've been able to do tell us about the latest, including some of the satellite images that we have?
Thank you for having me. On the satellite data, there's been cloud cover since the 29th of April, and I believe yesterday, and we're going to see that in a second, was the first satellite data that's come in. Some drone footage as well is purported to be of a recent source. And as intelligencer, we always ask the question, how good is the data we're getting? Where is it coming from? And kind of what does it mean? But we're about to see some detailed pictures of this steelworks here. This is a Planet Labs picture. It's 3-metre resolution. What does that mean? It means it's not the kind of stuff that you see in Google Earth, but from an analyst perspective, it gives a lot of insight. And where we've had not a lot of data since the 29th of April, it's the first time we've started to see. Now, bomb damage assessment, there is a lot of bomb damage assessment to be done. That's to say, a lot of munitions have been dropped by the Russians, which ties in with some of the data that we're seeing from drones, which have come from a Russian source.
We've also seen some video released from the Donetsk People's Republic fighters. What can we learn about the bombardment that's been going on in Mariupol from these images?
This image that we see here comes from a sequence. It's been suggested that thermobaric weapons, a really nasty banned weapon system, have been used. It's an area weapon which we would expect to be used, but this particular sequence we see here is airdropped munitions, and we suspect is to target what's going on underneath the ground. There's a real complex system of tunnels where the defenders are.
Let's zoom out a little bit and discuss what's going on broadly in these. Of course, many that have escaped from Mariupol have made it to Zaporizhia, a relative safe haven, all relative, of course. What are the latest points of action here in the east?
Well, the main effort hasn't really changed. It's still the Donbas. We see the yellow and red hatched areas where Russian advances have been made. I've been talking about advances of 2 to 3 kilometres per day, which for a manoeuvrist capability, which the Russians would aspire to be, is not quick enough. That's really because they're only moving with the safety of their own artillery fire. So some advances there on the use of combined arms. But certainly you can see the arrows coming from the north to the south and then the south to the north. We can see that the attempt to fill in the Donbas region to the kind of black line, which is northeast into them south. That is the special operation mission to fill in that area.
And this focus to try and connect this area, you're suggesting that their progress there has been slow over the last week relative to what they would have liked to have seen, the Russians? It
has been slow. 2 to 3 kilometres a day for a modern military is very slow.
Let's touch as well on the sort of further reports of ongoing missile attacks, long-range missile attacks, I guess not just in the east and all areas of Ukraine.
Yeah, so what we have here, we call that the deep battle. So the Ukrainians are being reinforced. They've been reinforced with kit and equipment from the west. That must go through transportation nodes. It will be held at certain locations, and the Russians are currently targeting those locations. Ukrainians are also being very clever in manoeuvring their own forces. So if we have an overwhelming Russian majority, that can be matched by Ukrainians moving their own troops to get an equalisation of troops on the ground and inhibiting bridges, trains. That stops the Ukrainians moving their kit and equipment and people.
OK, Forbes, great stuff. Thanks so much for joining us to discuss the latest on the ground.